we were talking about attire earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Subconsciously, over the last few days, I've been thinking about our podcast, and us, we're normally like super casual.
Like wearing the same thing?
Yeah, like wearing the same thing, like shorts, t-shirt, or casual stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it. I was like, should we continue to be super casual on the podcast?
I'm not dressing up.
Or should I
will
get
retire.
Chad? Should I get Chad in a sport coat out here and some slacks?
No, I'm not dressing
How
up.
about a bowler shirt?
A bolo tie?
No, like
No,
Bowling shirt?
I'm not
I have
doing that
one.
either.
I have a bowling shirt.
I'm not doing that either.
And then with Chad, with your cup, just a shirt and a cup.
Listen, when I left corporate America, I left business attire behind. Like true wearing a freaking suit.
Yeah.
I think most people have left it behind.
Yes.
I mean,
even
like
corporate America. There's a lot of jeans.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of jeans.
I think we've almost gone a little
Too far?
too casual.
Sometimes, yeah.
I think especially when I go into like the K-12 schools and even higher ed, and the teachers
Yeah.
are dressed so far down.
The teachers are dressed like the students.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but are the students starting to dress like the teachers, because that's who's influencing what they wear? And if they see
Yeah.
mom and dad look like that, some of these parents never get out of pajamas. Now our kids don't know how to dress for a
Yep.
job that does require them to dress up.
I'm pro like dress to your audience, right? You shouldn't be the worst dressed. I'm not going to be sloppy no matter what if I'm in like workout clothes, it's still not going to be sloppy. Like
Right.
there's a way to dress and not
Be presentable. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I
but
do kind of reminisce or look back at some of the pictures.
Ugh.
Not like of us in the corporate world, but I'll look back on like 1920s and 30s, and I'll see
Yes.
like people in the stands at games. Everybody's dressed up, have a suit and tie and a hat. I'm like, that was cool.
Yeah. We've lost some of that, like dressing
You don't
up.
think that way? See, I do think that way.
No. Matt's shaking no too.
And
Yeah.
there's something about people just having pride in the way they look when they go out the door.
But I think that's part of it. I don't think that being not out of a suit and tie is not having pride in the way you look, right? Like to my point, you can dress down and casual and it still look great. Now,
I agree with that.
Now there's extremes to everything, right? Do you need to wear your yoga pants and, a crop top everywhere? Probably not, but there's a way to dress in like athleisure or however you want to say it that
Is that what it's called? Athleisure?
I think so.
Oh.
I think that's my preferred.
Athleisure.
I don't think
That's
I
a
have.
new term that you just
No,
coined.
I think it's been out there. I didn't
Okay.
create that. No, I mean, there's a time and a place. I mean, I'm also from the school that, so I guess I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I do agree with you because I grew up in a church where women didn't wear pants to church, right? Like you're going to wear a skirt or a dress, and then men were wearing.
And that's changed.
Yeah, men were wearing
Tremendously, yeah.
nice clothes to church. You wore your best. Like I grew up there, so I have this. Like when I go in a church and the dude's got shorts on,
Yeah, I think that's weird.
that's so
It's
weird.
too
To
much.
me.
I'm not okay with that.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not
It's-
like. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to say that. I don't want to say that I'm not okay with
Yeah.
it because at the
but
same time,
personally, like it's
right?
yeah.
I think when you go down that road, though, it just continues
Yeah.
to go down, right?
I think for me, it's
It's gotten worse over the last 10
yeah.
years.
I'm torn because hey, they're in the Lord's house, so
Right.
like great. That also I can't judge them here in the Lord's house because maybe that's their best.
Right.
Maybe that's the best option that they have. So, my brother is a pastor, so it's like he will be the first one to say, "Hey, look, they made it."
Yeah.
They're
that's
here.
it. Yeah.
Hey,
So-
I guarantee you there is shelves and racks full of dress clothes at the Goodwill.
I'm with you.
I've got plenty to give away if anybody needs any.
I'm with you. Yeah, I could give all of my. That's what I'll do. I'll
give it all away.
I'll
Sorry, I
give
don't
it
have
all
anything for
away
that.
and be like, "Hey, dude, I don't have anything This is
I
what
think
got.
there's a nonprofit organization that helps folks on lower incomes with like dress attire for interviews and stuff.
I can remember I think we did back in the Verizon days. We did that. We did like gave back. Like
The
we all
clothing
brought
closet.
stuff that we didn't use.
When we do our gala, which is our black tie event, people love it because their feedback is we don't ever get to dress up anymore. There's nothing for us to dress up like this for. And so women especially, most men don't want to go like put on a bow tie and a suit or a tux, but most women are like, I have a reason to buy a special dress.
A dress.
Because we don't always have those reasons.
Yep.
I wear dresses almost all the time. And I have people now, this has just happened in the past few years, like, why are you so dressed up today? And I'm like, I'm just dressed how I was raised to dress.
They ask you that?
Like, oh yeah. But I was raised
Just
by
like-
like Southern belles.
Yeah.
Like you don't leave the house without your makeup on.
Yep.
You wear a dress, you have your nails done, and
Yeah.
so that's a shift for me, like to think outside that. So it's hard. I think it all depends on how we were raised and how we were brought
It
up.
absolutely does.
It doesn't matter if we go to the most modern church. I'm still saying you're wearing a collared shirt, you're tucking it in, you're
Yes.
not wearing jeans. Like, jeans are okay, but like shorts, no.
Yeah, that's Haley. I mean, she
know.
ain't word. Like once a child hits a certain age, once the boy he's not wearing shorts in church. I can remember
Right, you can wear them when you're little.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can distinctly remember that. Like
Because you can't get kids to wear pants anyway sometimes, right? If they're at a
Unless
certain
they
age.
have an elastic band or they're from Lululemon.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, you were laughing. We were joking about. I kind of made the statement about the teachers and the way.
Yeah.
I'm like, we got to watch Baylor because he'll get dress coded for having his thighs out.
Hayden did almost every day last year. But Hayden has really long legs. So you've seen Ryan and Hayden. They're built the same. They have these long, skinny legs. And the new dress code that they rolled out last year says that shorts, whether they be boys or girls, it's no longer fingertip length. It's the center of your leg, between the crease of your the back of your knee and your hip bone. Well, for
Yep.
some people,
It's longer than
it's very
others.
long. And so I measured it. And I drew a circle around his leg with a Sharpie. And I said, let them dress code you again. I said, because his shorts were long enough.
Yeah.
Now they were very short. I don't know why boys want to wear their shorts that short, but that's where
That's
they
the
are.
thing.
Preach,
That's the thing
Sister
right now,
Kim.
right?
I know.
But if you would have told me 10 years ago,
Let's talk
that-
about shorts instead today, okay?
yeah, if you would have told me 10 years ago that one of my kids would get dress coded,
Oh, you would have thought it would have been,
oh, it would have been Emma.
yeah.
Right? It
Yep.
would have been the female child because her skirt was too short
Yep.
or
No,
whatever.
it's the boys.
I got called multiple times. But
Oh, we did too.
Baylor would be like, Dad, you bring me some pants?
Well, here's what's the craziest thing. Hayden was rolling his shorts to make him even
make 'em
shorter.
shorter.
And I'm like, unroll your shorts.
Skies out, thighs out.
Hey, let's get Kim introduced.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah, hit it.
Kim Baker's with us today. Thank you for joining us, Kim.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, you're welcome. So, Kim, what is your title? Are you the CEO?
My
or
official
director?
title is President and CEO of the Gallatin Area Chamber of Commerce.
Boss
Okay.
lady.
Boss.
Boss lady. Tell us. I'm interested to know how you got started with the chamber, how long you've been there, right? Mm-hmm. Where did your passion come from? Was it working with small businesses in the area? Is it more of the community thing? Gallatin. I'm assuming you love Gallatin.
I do love Gallatin. That's
Yeah,
true.
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
My story is kind of interesting. I think all of us have a unique story as to how we got to where we are, but mine, specific to the chamber. So I've been at the chamber about 11 years. I started at the chamber in 2013. I was hired on in a part-time position. So I graduated college in 2012. I graduated from MTSU. When I graduated high school from Gallatin High School, like so many of us in that era, I wanted to get out of Gallatin. I wanted to leave, right? I was like, there's nothing for me here. There's not a lot of jobs. There's nowhere to shop. There's really nothing for youth to do. And that was in 2005. And so I left. I went to architecture school at the University of Tennessee. I got there and I realized I really didn't like architecture. My dad was a civil engineer. He pushed me into that industry and said, you need to go to a 4-year institution. You need to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, and that's where you're going to find success and happiness. I was like, all right, maybe we listen to our parents. Yep. So I applied to every architecture school in the Southeast, wound up at UT. Didn't want to go too far from my parents, but I wanted to go far enough away from Gallatin. I got there, was there about 2 years. I failed out. I was academically dismissed from the University of Tennessee.
Go Vols.
Go Vols, right?
Yeah,
go
it's
Vols.
easy place to get academically dismissed.
I had too much fun.
Yeah.
But really what it was for me is I realized I didn't love architecture, and I just kind of withdrew myself and found lots of other fun to be had on campus. And so I tell you that because I'll tell you a little bit later why I'm so passionate about what we do. Ultimately, I came back home, enrolled at Ball State, fell in love with the communications world there, realized there was a lot of different opportunities in communication, and found a program at MTSU that was an organizational communication program. And so I went on to MTSU, and that's where I graduated from in 2012. So 2012, not the best time for a new graduate to find a job. No. The economy was not great. I probably applied for over 60 jobs. I was sending my resume out everywhere. In fact, Hayden, he just turned 18. He was really little then. I worked nights bartending, and I nannied as well. And then Ryan worked days. So I would take Hayden. We didn't have internet because we couldn't afford it. Yeah. Like, we don't have internet. So I'd take him to Chick-fil-A when they still had a play place, and he'd play in the play place, and I would just sit over there and send my resume. I think I got one interview out of all of that. It was so discouraging. Yeah. But I was a bartender and I was a nanny, so I was making good money. I just knew that those weren't sustainable for me a long time for what I wanted to do. It was Halloween that year. We hosted our annual Halloween party, and a couple of my friends were there, and they always joked with me. They were like, "Are you gonna be a nanny forever?" Because I took so long in college, a lot of them had finished college ahead of the recession, and they had good jobs. And so they would always give me a hard time. They're like, "Are you going to do this? You're going to be like Mary Poppins, like forever, maybe. Raising other people's kids?" I know. I was like, I hope not, but maybe. I mean, it pays the bills. Mm-hmm. So a good friend of mine, y'all might know him, Brad Singleton. Yeah. He had recently started the process to start Sumner County's very first brewery, Briar Scratch Brewing. Yep. Brad and I graduated together. His girlfriend and I are very good friends. So they told me, they said, "We know about this job at the Chamber of Commerce." He said, "We don't know what a chamber does," because most people don't. Yeah. But I think you'd be really good at it. They do events and they work with businesses. And Brad had gotten to know the chamber because Paige Brown, who was the executive director then and now our mayor, was a county commissioner at the time. And so he was working directly with her to change local legislation to allow for breweries in the county. Yeah. And because she had knowledge, because she spent a lot of time in Oregon, and so she knew the economics and the impacts and the driver of tourism a brewery could be for our county. So anyway, so that was on a Saturday. I called Paige on a Sunday, and just I didn't have anything to lose. I'd already applied for a million jobs. She's like, "Why don't you come in tomorrow and talk with me?" So I went in on Monday, and I chatted with her and kind of didn't realize what I was interviewing for the job. At the time, the chamber had 2 full-time employees. It was Paige and Zena, which Zena's still with us. She spent at the chamber 17 years. And so she told me all about the job. She told me that she might run for mayor. And again, not having anything to lose, I said, "Well, what happens if you get elected mayor?" And she said, "Well, I don't know." She said the board could decide to get rid of everybody. They could decide to hire new people, hire within. Or, I might not get elected and I could stay. And I was like, "Okay, well, would I be eligible for your job?" And she said, "By then you would have a year of experience and you have a college degree, so I don't see why you couldn't apply." So as we know, Paige did get elected. And so that happened she got elected in 2013. No, she got elected in 2014. Yep. And then in 2015, they launched, or at the end of 2014, they launched a nationwide search. They had over 80 applicants. And again, it was just Zena and I at the office. And Zena was like, "I don't want to apply." And I was like, "All right, well, if I applied, would you stay?" Because that was important. Because she had a lot of institutional knowledge. We worked really well together. And she said, "Yeah, I'd stay." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna apply. Like, what do I have to lose, So I applied and I went through the process, and I really thought they were being nice, because why wouldn't you interview the internal candidate? And so anyway, so I made it to the final round and I got the job. So I was named in my role in February of 2015. At that time, I became the youngest chamber CEO in the state of Tennessee, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was cool, but it also presented a lot of challenges within the community, because there was a lot of people in our community that thought maybe I was too young. There were concerns that I wasn't married and hadn't had a baby, because they were like, "She's probably going to leave once all of that happens." And then there were also the concerns where they didn't know who my parents were. That was a fun question. Who's your daddy? I was like, well, you don't know him. He's
Welcome
not
to
from
G-Town.
here. I know, right? And the other question I got all the time was, I took a long time to hang things on my walls because I got right to work and I didn't have time to decorate my office. I mean, it was really fast and rapid. And people would come in all the time and they're like, are you going to stay? Because you haven't hung anything on your walls. And I'd say, yes, I just haven't had time to do that.
I could see why somebody would say that though.
I mean,
That's
it's
funny.
kind of concerning, right? You haven't
Yeah.
decorated. Are you going to
Like
stay
there's
here?
no family photos.
Right,
no furniture,
no family
there's
photos. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time, and so it's been rapid speed ever since. So that was 2015. So fast forward, we're in 2024.
Yeah.
Well, 2015 since I took the role. So I never thought when I started at the chamber, I took it as a part-time job, and I had switched from bartending in a really high-speed environments and watching other people's children, which your parents, that's a lot, and other people's children are a lot. And so I never thought that this job would be something I stayed at forever. It was just supposed to be that job, like to get me in the door somewhere that wasn't one of the other ones. And so I took it part-time. I became before I became CEO, I was the third full-time employee they had. And so that was a big change for the chamber too. But you asked me where my passion came from, and comes from a lot of different places. But one of the things, and my love for Gallatin, is I'm not from Gallatin. And I moved here in 2000. My dad moved here in 99. He was a civil engineer and always just chased and followed the dollars. And we had never put down roots in a community where, and really stayed in one long enough, because he'd oversee a big project and then we'd move. And he'd oversee a big project and then we'd move. And it was just the cycle. And a lot of people thought I was military growing up because we just came and went very often. And so when I came back to Gallatin that second time, like after going to college and coming back, and ultimately when I started dating my husband, who is a 10th generation Sumner County, and I realized really quick that like the community that existed, and I understood that more at the chamber and the dynamics, and seeing people that knew people and had these deep connections and talked about how their kids got to be raised with their friends that kids that they grew up with. And it was something really special. And I longed for that, because I don't have a place that I can go back to and say, this is where I grew up, because I didn't have that. The only place that I have that connection is Aberdeen, Mississippi, which is where my grandmother lives. It's where my parents met. And it's a very sad, depressing town because they've experienced no growth. So that's a big part of my passion, is I wanted to put down roots somewhere, and I wanted to make Gallatin the best it can be. One, because I want to call it home forever, but two, because I have connections to communities that have not done their best and they're dying, and that's sad.
That's good insight. You mentioned something earlier that got me thinking. I think you mentioned that a few folks had said something to the effect of, are you going to be a nanny forever? And this and that, right? Did that help motivate you and push you into
a little bit?
What you're doing now? Like maybe people telling you can't do something, or you're not going to do something?
I think a lot of it, I think the first motivator was my dad telling me I could only be a few things. And I think he told me that from he grew up very, very poor. And so I think as humans, I think we always want something we didn't get to have, or we want our kids to have something we didn't get, whether it's a toy or a type of house or vacations, or you know what it is. I just think it's something. And so I think my dad saw what he had experienced, and I know he wanted me to have the very best. And so his idea of success and happiness was directly correlated with his financial and social, economic status. And so he felt like that's what I needed. But for me, that wasn't the driver. And I think a lot of that is a generational shift. But that was the big thing. I remember because I changed my major to elementary education for a short period. And I remember calling my dad, because I was so excited about it. And I was like, this is something I'm going to be passionate about. I've been nannying children and working in that space. I'm going to really love this. He took the call and he said, what? He said, you're going to be, a few choice words, poor. And I was like, what? He's like, but,
if that's what you want to do.
He was like, but if that's what you want to do. And it was really negative. And I was like, oh man. And that's not how I saw it. And so, taking the leap into the nonprofit world, I took a pay cut when I left being a nanny and a bartender. And I was used to having cash on hand in both of those fields. And so this was different. But it was a motivator because I had taken so long to finish college. I mean, I took 8 years to get my bachelor's degree. And so by then, a lot of friends that had finished their master's by the time I'd finished, they gave me a hard time. And it felt some kind of way to fail out of college and then to not know what I wanted to do or not be able to do what I thought I should be doing. And so that was a motivator. Yeah.
Good insight. Tell me what you think in today's age and time, 2024, what are the benefits of partnering with a chamber in a local community today? And I ask that question because there's so many options, I think, for businesses today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to put your marketing dollar.
Yeah, you have like BNI groups, you have social media for marketing dollars, you have technology councils, you have this, you have that. And I know you're probably thinking about this every day with your leadership and your employees. Like, how do we differentiate ourselves, and how do we get businesses to come and invest in us?
Yeah,
right.
And that's a big topic of discussion within the chamber industry, and chambers have withstood the test of time. They've been around since, there's chambers that date back into like the 1700s. We could really nerd out about chambers if you wanted to, but I'll spare you. But it is interesting because chambers most chambers started in their own communities to drive an idea or an initiative because not one individual could do it, but a group of established business leaders can move things forward. And that's how our chamber came to be. Our chamber is 103 years old. We're one of the older chambers in the state of Tennessee. We've always been the Gallatin chamber. Some chambers have evolved and become different things. But in some chambers, I'll say, feel very threatened by a BNI group or these networking groups that pop up. And we've never felt that way at our chamber. Why? Because I think we have diversified offerings, and I think that we provide significant value in a variety of ways that you can't find in other places. So you can come network at our chamber, but at the core, that's not what we're for. Are we for advocacy? Absolutely. Whether that be a sign ordinance or some local or state legislation that is unfriendly to business, like we help you in those arenas. Exposure and marketing, we're not a marketing agency, we're not a PR department. A lot of people think we are, but we do offer opportunities to help expose you in all of those ways and help work alongside you to get the word out because we have a really broad reach. We have members that are in the city, we have members in the county, we have members that are across the state, and we even have members outside of the state, which is really great for those that are a part of our organization because your reach is that broad and you connect with people all over. So, I would say we have membership opportunities that start at $295. I don't know what else you can find where you can spend $295 a year and get access to over 700 different businesses. Like you can directly connect with them, over 200 events, and then exposure to all of the new residents, new businesses that come into the community. We do a lot with really little. I have a 6-person team too, which a lot of people probably think we have like this big team behind running all of these things. We don't. We have a 6-person team. And I think that's it too, the fact that we have a team. I see a lot of networking groups pop up, and it's a group of people that want to get together, but over time they happen to fizzle out maybe because there's not one entity or one person driving it. And sometimes you need somebody to drive that bus, and that's what we do.
Yeah, I think people need to know, and maybe most people do, but if you're going to invest in a chamber as a business, right, or a sales leadership organization, whatever it is, you're going to get what you put into it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If I invest in the Gallatin Chamber and give you guys $2,000, as a member, and if I'm just automatically expecting something back, right? It's not going to happen. You have to put in. Now, maybe I'll get a few things out of that, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to have to invest in the chamber, get to know you guys, go to the functions, right? Be present. Or else it's really just a donation.
I always tell people that joining the chamber is a lot like joining the church or joining the gym. And you can join both of those all day long. I think we've all at some point probably been a member of a church and maybe not gone very often. Or we've signed up for a gym membership and it just drafts out of our account every month and we go every now and then. So I say the more you go, the more you grow. And I think that's the same with all of those things. And so, yes, you can give us money and we can make it work for you, and your logo can go on things and you'll show up in our directory. But you get a lot more value out of the chamber when you're present. And that doesn't necessarily mean physical presence, right? It could be that you're reading things that we send out, and then you're empowering your employees with information that we've provided you. Or you're following along with us and being informed about what's going on in the community. Because oftentimes our members find out about things before the rest of the community does. Because it's funny when I go speak to kids and like career days and K-5 schools, and I say, does anybody know what the chamber does? And they say, are you like the Chamber of Secrets in Harry Potter? And I said, well, you know what? We're kind of like that, because we get to keep a lot of community secrets and a lot of business secrets. And we do. And sometimes we have to hold those really close, but sometimes we get to share them with our members before the rest of the community finds out about it. And that's kind of fun. So
we need to send Chad with you next time you do that, and let Chad educate the kids about NexGen.
Answer Harry Potter questions?
That too.
I don't think I would get any answer.
You don't know
correct.
any Harry Potter stuff?
Nothing.
Okay.
I know about the drink, right? Because I've had that at Universal Studios. I've watched the movies.
Bumblebee? But what's it called?
Butterbeer.
Butterbeer. That's it.
Yeah, Willa knows about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not be able to answer.
Have you seen them? None.
I've seen most
Kim,
of them.
I've never seen. Here we go. Things to pick on Chad about.
Oh, I'm horrible. I don't watch TV.
I've never seen Star Wars.
Oh, I've seen a few of those.
I've never
I've seen
seen anything like that.
We had somebody get up and leave because they couldn't believe Chad.
If it is like sci-fi,
If it's sci-fi, you don't like
fake
sci-fi.
stuff, I'm probably out.
So you're saying that wizards aren't real?
I don't know. I've met some folks.
Okay.
Hey, I will say one of the things that I love that the Gallatin Chamber is doing is you guys are moving location soon.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're going into a place that's like 10 times the size of where you're at now?
So the whole space is about 10 times where we are now. Our space probably is about like 2 to 3 times. So it's significantly larger.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's attractive for a business in the community. I know for us, the attraction point of that is if we could come in and maybe collaborate together, use some space. We have vendors that want to meet with us all the time, right? And if you have a space that could be rented out, right, that's a nice conference room or something where we can bring, 8, 10, 15 people together to have a meeting, right? I think that's an attractive thing. So I like what you guys are doing with the new space.
We're really excited. So the new space is called The Station, and I know you'll have had a chance to look at it. But we are relocating from 118 West Main to 117 West Main. So we've started our move, and we look like a little traveling roadshow with wagons and carts, like going
Just
across the street.
Yeah.
Literally across the street. Like we could throw a rock and quite literally hit it. But the whole building is a little over 10,000 square feet. We'll occupy a little over 5,000, and we have, of course, our office space in there, but we have 2 other conference rooms within our space. We have like a lobby reception area with cozy couches. And then we have a large event space that can accommodate up to about 200, and then a smaller meeting room that's right on Main Street. The natural light in the building is spectacular. The architecture and the history within the space, we've really preserved it well, I think. The building was built in the 1930s. It's called The Station because prior to the building that was constructed there, it was the geographic location where there was a Y turnaround. So if you see our logo, the T is actually a Y turnaround, which is where trains turn around and go a different direction. Because up until the late 20s, the Bluegrass Line, which was a part of the Interurban Railway, ran right to that location. It connected Gallatin to Nashville or Nashville to Gallatin. So at one point...
It ran right to that building?
Right to that location, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's why it's called The Station. It was never actually a train station. But we can say safely that at one point, Middle Tennessee and even Gallatin did have high-speed rail.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's interesting.
Well, hear that, Dad? She is involved in architecture.
I know, right?
See?
Yeah.
After all this time.
I know. I wish he could see. I wish he could see this space. He'd be really proud.
Yeah, like that's cool though.
Yeah, it
that
is.
that you've got to be a part of this project.
It is, and that's there's so many. My dad passed away in 2019, but there have been so many times I wanted to call him during this process because he would just love it, and so I always tell people that I did get to build things, and I build community, And
Yeah.
so that's fun.
And then like the station is an extension of that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
and that's we're marketing the station at the corner of commerce and community. And to your point, yes, it is the chamber office, and we will use it for chamber events, which right now, those 200 events we produce or co-produce, 0 of them happen in our office. They're all over town, which is great because we get to take members to other member locations, but some of those just make more sense if we have them in-house, and
Yes.
it streamlines it for all of us. But we also will be able to rent out that space to members and community members for business-related purposes. And so conference rooms, we have some shared workspaces, we have some cozy like loungy areas, so you can have those meetings, or maybe you're in between meetings and you just want a place that's not a coffee shop or not a restaurant to plug in and work. So
That's great.
yeah.
I think from our business and what we look at day to day and how we work with cities, I know a big part of that is, and even for you guys, I want your insight on it, but economic development, right? And that branch or that department of the city. What's the Gallatin Chamber or Chamber's role in general in working with economic development? Is that a huge piece day to day?
So if any chamber tells you they don't do economic development, then they don't understand what they do.
Yeah.
We're really fortunate in Gallatin that the city doubled down on economic development several decades ago, and we have an economic development agency, which is under the city. And so that's nice because they get to focus on that. That's their job, right? And then we get to come alongside them and do what we do to showcase our businesses, our restaurants, our other assets that are here that drive economic development.
Yeah.
Because now, economic development has really changed over the past decade, 10 to 20 years. I mean, 10 years ago, if somebody was relocating to the area, it was not uncommon for their C-suite to come here and say, where's the Fairview neighborhood I can live in? Where are the private schools my kids can go to school? And where are the restaurants like Foxland that I can go eat at, right? Or where's the club I can join? But then we saw a shift where it wasn't just about the C-suite employees anymore. It was about those other folks that are making things happen.
The bulk of the business.
Right, the bulk of the business. And starting to bring those folks on site visits and saying, okay, like, where? And I'll never forget it. It was about probably 8 to 9 years ago. I was invited to go on this big prospect visit, and they brought me along because they brought some of their workers, some of their just regular people,
Normal folks.
right? And they wanted to understand what the public schools were like. Where the houses that were, remember this was 8 years ago, where the houses were that were like, $150,000 to $200,000.
Yeah, those don't exist anymore.
Please don't ask me about this now. But, they wanted to know. And I had the opportunity to tell them this story. Well, my kid goes to public school and they're great. And I live in one of those houses that was less than $200,000. And this is what it's like. And it is a safe neighborhood. Because remember, sometimes we come from these places that that are not that. You're looking at a house that's $150,000, you're probably in a really bad area.
Yes.
And so we got to help tell that unique story. But with that, and this goes for everybody, is like, where are we going to eat? Like, where are my employees going to eat? Where are they going to go for nightlife?
Yeah.
Is there somewhere they can go for drinks after work? Where are those places? Because that impacts the quality of life, not for them as residents, but for them as employees. Is this going to be a desirable place to work because they have all of these attractions and amenities? So we get to come alongside them and help tell those stories, and we do that continuously throughout the year. And with our publications we produce and our marketing campaigns we run and the community we get to cultivate, so that when they bring in prospects, we've already set it up so they can say, hey, yeah, look, we have all these assets and this is here, here, and here. I always say that we get to do a lot of the sunshine and rainbow stuff. And it's hard.
Well, you do,
but it's
right?
really fun.
Like,
it is. It's the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's fun.
The term Chamber of Commerce weather.
That's sunshine, rainbow weather.
It literally is a thing.
Yep.
So
I was going to ask you about the challenges that face the local business community. I know you hit on one there, making sure that there's things outside of work, right, for the employees. I'm trying to think about other things, right? From your perspective with the chamber, maybe you can hit on this too, Chad. What do you think? What do you guys think that what kind of challenges face the local business community in a community like Gallatin, Tennessee?
I mean,
Is it employees number one right now? Finding employees still?
I think businesses that I talk to on a regular basis, finding good employees is still a challenge. The cost of real estate is a huge expense. I mean, you and I talk about it with NexGen. Does it make sense to have brick and mortar for our people to go to? Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? So
Right.
Those are challenges I think that everybody faces. I mean, one of I've got friends that are all over small business, and I can tell you, that most of them would hire 5 people today if they could
find them.
And
a lot of it isn't necessarily because the business isn't desirable or our community is not desirable or the people. I think we've gotten a little past the people just don't want to work. Like there are people that want to work still.
Yeah.
But it is, can I afford to work in that community?
That's
because
right.
people they want to do everything in a centralized location.
Yes.
They want to be able to walk or travel a very short distance to get to the things they like to enjoy. And so, density is a really hot topic right now, and it's not popular with everyone how we develop, but that is time and time again, that's why we see density. I mean, it's history. Like, we see these metropolitan areas that were developed that way, and it aids in making sure people can live and work in the community. Because right now you've got a lot of people that would probably love to work in Gallatin or love to live in Gallatin, but it doesn't make financial sense for them to live and commute from outside the community. I'll add to that childcare continues to be a big challenge for employers, and we've got a lot of employers that are having to think more creatively about how they hire around childcare situations, whether that be, do they offer some type of stipend for their employees to have childcare? Do they become more comfortable with having children in the workplace? Which I think 2020 allowed us to think like, okay, like if the kid's in the conference room after school from 3 to 5, is that a huge deal? Probably not. And so I think that's a little eye-opening, and it's the biggest challenge. And statistically, I don't know if you've ever studied on this, but women were middle-aged women that were mothers were the ones that primarily suffered the most from 2020, because they were expected to go back to work normally, but now their kids aren't in school or it's changed. And so we've had to rethink how we do all of that. And so I think employers are still trying to find solution. We have some employers that have talked about having child care facilities on site. And we have some really great models here in Sumner County of facilities that have that. Dollar General Corporation has always been the model for that. But I think childcare, housing, and then just the workforce continues to be a challenge.
Yeah. Are you finding that more companies, businesses are coming back to you mentioned urban area, back to the downtown, right? Within walkable distance to things.
I think that's desirable. We have a lot of folks, and to that point too, a challenge facing businesses would be those that need to grow, but want to grow here and they want to stay here and they need to actually physically grow their location, but maybe they can't because the real estate isn't attainable. And so that's a big challenge too. But we're seeing a lot of folks that desire that. They're like, well, we want to be close to the restaurants or the bars or
we want
the
to
coffee shops.
We want to walk to Prince Street after work.
Right, exactly. And it makes you feel some kind of way. And I'll say for Gallatin, our downtown area, that's something we're lacking. That we don't have a lot of residential that's in walking distance to the downtown district, which is why there's some projects proposed and
I saw that
on the radar.
Some multi-dwelling unit projects proposed there. That's good. But we talked about challenges a little bit. Let's talk about opportunities maybe that lie ahead. What I know Gallatin as a city is flourishing. It's growing, right? What kind of It is
growing.
It is growing a lot.
Just a
tad bit.
It's changed
just a tad.
a little.
And I don't see that slowing. I mean, maybe it's slowed down a little bit with interest rates, but it's still growing.
Yeah.
I think there's more houses on the market now than there was 2 years ago.
There are.
Right?
They still don't stay on them. They stay on the market a little longer. But I mean, the demand is there. And we're actually, in July, the Chamber will be hosting a panel on housing, because that is such a hot topic. And I think most people don't have a general understanding of the economics of the industry and the supply and demand, and that's what it is. And And there's a lot of folks that are thinking that these houses are being built to accommodate all these people that are moving to Gallatin. And that's not the truth. The truth is these houses are being built because there's a desire for people that want to stay in Gallatin. Now, sure, there's people that want to reside here, but I'll give you an example. I've got a kid that just turned 18. Where does he go? Where does he go if he wants to stay in Gallatin, right?
You know,
we talk about the American dream, and if he wants to experience home ownership, and sure, he could wait a few years, but what if he was able to do it right now? What would he buy here?
Yeah.
And so,
not much.
right, exactly. And what about
There's plenty of apartments
that's true,
for him to rent, right?
But what if a lot of them are at capacity?
Are they really?
Yes, a lot of people don't know that, but the occupancy stays above 80% for most of our apartments, and they're expensive. But the other part too, like I've got an aging mom. Like, what if she wanted to get her own place?
Yeah.
Or what about the person who just lost their spouse?
Yeah.
Or what about a divorcee that now needs another home? Because they're not cohabitating anymore, and they need to stay in Gallatin to keep their kids in the same school zone. Where do they go? So a lot of these houses, people think, oh, we're just building this so people can continue to come here. But what about the people that are already here that need housing too?
Yeah, I'm torn on that.
It's hard.
Being from here, right? I also have kids that are going to go to college very soon, and who knows where they'll live, but we have that our friend group has that conversation a lot. So where are they going to live? Like, do I need to buy a house right now so that they can have a place? Or I don't know what the right answer is, but I do see that side of it, that we're big, but we're not big enough, that we're, it's a weird growth.
Well, when you're from a place and you grew up there, like you did, I did, right? Longer, you see where it was, and you see all the growth, and it's busting at its seams, and you're like, man, this doesn't feel the same anymore.
No.
But it's bound to happen.
But there also there's some good to that. I mean, when I grew up, so I'm like probably right in the middle on it. Like we've got to do some things to grow. I'm all for smart growth and doing it the right way, not just throwing up things. But I grew up in the Douglas Bend area, and there was for the Gallatin people, one traffic light.
Oh yeah.
From my parents' house in Douglas Bend to where Tractor Supply is today.
Oh yeah.
There was one traffic light. There's 100 now.
Look, when we moved here in 2000, I remember we had to drive to Madison to go to Home Depot.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine doing that now? Like, if we had to drive all the way to Madison if you need a new
it would take you 45
minutes. Now, we have
minutes.
Ace Hardware, but they don't have everything you need, right?
Yeah.
And so it would take you forever.
It would take 45 minutes.
I mean, it did even then, without all the lights and traffic. And so there's some really good things to growth.
There are.
Having the amenities, and it's funny, a lot of the naysayers about all the growth, I believe that I've seen them in a lot of the new restaurants, which restaurants don't come unless you have more residents, and so it's economics. And
I think that's it for me, Kim. It's like as much for the old school as I yearn for, right? Yeah. Like I miss kind of what we used to be, but I also love Jonathan's.
Right.
I like,
Well, or Edley's that's coming.
Yeah, I want Edley's to be here.
ML Rose.
ML Rose.
Yeah, I know.
So it's one of those things like let's just do it the right way.
I mean, I can go weeks without leaving Gallatin.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few things, and I think as we get a little further into the future, there's probably zero reasons I have to leave Gallatin anymore if I know about what's coming. And that's exciting, right? To think like I can do everything and my tax dollars stay here. They're not going to another city. They're not leaving the county. And I think for me too, when Hayden started driving, that was huge because some of the things he was doing, like I remember when I got into like records and record stores, I was driving to Nashville to go do that. And my parents didn't want me to drive to Nashville, but Hayden, when he got into records, he didn't have to leave Gallatin to do that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I remember I called him one night and I said, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm up on the square. We're getting coffee and then we're going here. There there was
Yeah.
no reason to go to the square
Yeah.
when I was in high
Oh,
school.
no, not at
Absolutely,
all.
you didn't go. It was
We hung out at City Hall, but then you
in the
got ran
parking
off.
lot, right? Yeah,
Or,
I got
or at
There
old
was no
Walmart.
go-to places on the square when we were
No.
in high
Walmart.
school, right?
No.
To old Walmart.
yeah.
The old Walmart.
That's where you hung
That's
out.
not on the square though.
No, but that's where you hung out.
Yeah.
For-
Or you just drove the strip.
The
Yeah.
Gallatin 500.
G-Town 500, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The kids do that anymore?
No.
They
Not
don't do
really,
that,
no.
but I've told
Okay.
them about it, and I still do it sometimes. I'll go get a cherry limeade, and I'll drive from one
Yeah,
one
just to, like,
side the
reminisce
other.
for a minute.
I'll put on like some 3-6 Mafia or something,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm
Yeah,
like
you
17
feel like
again.
you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm like, this
Yeah.
is it. Like, it's
Yeah.
cool.
And then you go to like,
You have to do it real late though. Get past all the traffic.
yeah, you got to
That's
go
right.
when the you get to do it like 2:00 in the morning when the lights are flashing.
Do they
Yeah.
do they still have the turnaround spot over there by past Crystals? Is that still where you turn around and go back up?
No, we
See,
went to
took
Sonic.
We did Sonic to Sonic.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was
we did.
Sonic
okay.
to Sonic or Sonic to, sometimes you would ride out to like Station Camp if
Yeah.
you wanted like to the boat ramp. Like you could turn around out there and
Gotcha.
then, get your playlist right on your burnt CD.
Yeah, your burnt, so you had to switch it out.
Yeah, hold on. That one's scratched.
Yeah.
no.
Well, it takes me back to the days.
Yeah. But to your point, it's so hard to like, I don't know, to see some of the growth, but and like some of it excites you. You're like, oh, this and this they're going to be here, and then you're like, oh, but now this is. I think for me, it's the tax dollar stuff. It's like not to get on the political side. I would love to see more funds. For example, we were at a baseball thing in Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and to see now their school system is different, tax dollar wise. It is they're city schools.
That's different.
It's different.
Which I think, just so everybody that's listening knows, we have county schools.
Yes, we do
have
have
a county-wide district.
Yes, we have county schools, and to see what they do with tax dollars, that a portion of every dollar spent goes directly into the schools. If anybody that's wanting to have fun and look at an unbelievable school, Google Gulf Shores High School right now.
Like Gulf Shores,
to
Alabama?
open. Yes.
Well,
That's
what
about
they
to
probably
open.
do is they probably take some of their hotel motel tax
do.
and dump it right into
They
the
do.
schools. That's really common in high
every
tourism
dollar.
areas. Yeah.
Every dollar, it's a percent of every dollar spent goes directly to the schools, and the facilities are just like, oh my goodness.
Well, Sumner County and Gallatin doesn't have obviously that.
No,
those
tourism's
dollars.
not there.
But Nashville does.
Nashville does.
Why couldn't Nashville do
Well,
something?
we're
like
a bordering county. Like it's.
I don't know how the CVB and I don't know how they.
I don't either.
I don't know how Nashville allocates their funds, and I know we do. There is a. So the county in Sumner County has a hotel motel tax, and that
Yep.
goes directly into tourism initiatives, and then the city takes some as well off hotel motel stays, and that goes to tourism, which the city just recently launched a tourism initiative called Destination Gallatin. You can follow it on social media. And that's really just to help drive tourism to Gallatin. To
bring somebody here.
We have a lot of assets
Yeah.
and a lot of things for people to see, whether it be historic, whether it be lake life, just our downtown and other amenities. But the great thing about tourism initiatives, if you can find a reason to bring people here, they are temporary taxpayers.
Yes,
so they
they
come
are.
here, they require minimal services, they typically do not require police and fire. They don't
Preach,
they don't
Sister
train
Kim.
your roads. And so you get them here and then you get them the heck out,
Yep.
right? And they spend money while they're here, and you get them to stay. The goal is to get them to do 2 overnights and spend, and you know that from being in the baseball industry. I mean,
Yes.
that's and we know that we have a lot of opportunity, talking about opportunities with that. So we can do more in the tourism space to get
Yes.
people here. And so those are some things that the city's working on with some of their initiatives. There's some enhancements that are proposed for some of our park systems, because we should be.
It needs
because
it.
But yes, and because of where we are geographically, like we should be able to host a lot more tournaments, and getting
Yes.
those people here, getting them to spend money at our restaurants and our retailers, and then sending them home and
Yeah.
hoping they come back
And
next year.
thank them for
Yeah.
going to Broadway one night and then
Yeah. Well, and that's a beauty too.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot cheaper. The museum, my husband runs the Sumner County Museum. They have an Airbnb. It's a lot cheaper to stay in Gallatin in an
Uber.
Airbnb. Uber to you're still saving money if you Uber to Nashville and then you come back. And so that's something we're working on too, is promoting all of those things. We're actually going to be installing a kiosk in the coming months, and it'll be interactive and outdoor kiosk. Folks will be able to come up to it and plan their trips. We'll have mural tours on there. We'll have history tours. We'll have other culture tours on it. And our hope is that over time that drives tourists, even if they're local tourists that came from Nashville and across the state, to get them here, have them enough time to spend coffee, go shop at some of our shops, eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner here, and just infuse our economy a little.
There's enough tourism in Nashville that if you could get 2% of that.
Oh yeah.
If you could get 2% of those folks to come and visit Gallatin.
And a lot of them are when when you come. I'll never forget when we went for my bachelorette trip a few years ago. We went to Key West, and we were gonna do like 4 or 5 days in Key West. And my best girlfriend, I grew up in South Florida. She still lives in South Florida, and she said, "Kim, if we do 4 or 5 days in Key West, we'll die."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, where should we go?" She's like, "We'll go to Islamorada the other days." But I feel like that about Nashville.
I do
like,
too.
if you come to Nashville now for like 4 or 5 days, you're probably going to die.
It's about the same as Vegas. Yeah.
I mean, it's too much. Like if you do all the sports teams and go downtown.
It's fake.
Yeah,
it's
and
fake.
it is. It's all curated. So you could come here and get like a more natural Tennessee experience, a little slower pace, a little low key.
Our vendors and things that come in all the time, I'm like, I get it. You want to stay downtown because you've never been to Broadway? Go do it.
Do that one night.
Go do it one night, and then call us, and I'll tell you outlying areas to get a hotel and to stay in real life, Tennessee. So,
I know. When I talk to people, they're like, "We're going to do 5 days on Broadway." I was like, "We're going to do one."
Not going to happen.
You're going to do one. I bet you don't do 5.
Yeah.
Me and Chad are in the travel baseball world a lot, and we travel to other areas. Book a couple nights hotel. Right, I would love to see
that's
north of Nashville, this area.
Yeah.
Right, build out some kind of travel sports destination area.
It takes money,
It takes a lot of money, but it could be great for the community.
I think I guess I lead that charge, right? There are a lot of places that are private dollars that have built it. You go to Lake Point in North Georgia. They have soccer fields, baseball fields, all that, and it's private dollars that built that. And there are some that have been local city government dollars that developed it. And I can tell you, it is a true, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to go from April to mid-July to anywhere there's one of those complexes and see what it does to the local economy.
100%.
Towns that nobody
would ever go to
otherwise.
Go to.
I'm tell you, one of the ones is Albertville, Alabama. Albertville, Alabama. It's on the banks of Gunnersville Lake, which is a very well-known fishery. But the city sports complex in Albertville, Alabama is as good, if not better, than any complex I've ever been to. And it was like they have an indoor aquatics. Like,
it's nice.
It's unbelievable. And there's not enough hotels there.
Yeah.
So the hotels charge whatever they want to charge. It's
and
one
you
of
pay
those
it because you got to go.
You got to go.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And I see our area, and I'm with Jason. I'm like, man, something
close enough to Nashville.
Something like that would be unbelievable.
That and then somewhere for like performing arts that's here. I think those are the two things because we see that all the time with all these dance studios. Some of them, they rent out churches or they have to go to Nashville.
Go to Belmont.
Yeah, go to a different college. I remember when I nanny, the girls I nanny, they danced at TPAC.
Yep.
And so those are two areas that I think we still, and I think we'll probably see it within the next 5 years, if not sooner, for both of those, because they get talked about a lot. And if you double down on what the kids are doing, then the parents naturally come.
They have to.
Right?
They don't have a choice.
They have to. And so it drives tourism and it keeps people here, because what we don't want people going to play in leagues in other cities or other counties or other arts facilities. So
I can count on one hand how many times outside of high school baseball. I can count on one hand how many times we've played in Gallatin over the past 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, one hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always going down to Murfreesboro or Nashville or Smyrna
or Atlanta or Alabama.
Kentucky has a great ballpark up in Elizabethtown.
E-Town is unbelievable.
Yeah, we saw some really cool outdoor facilities because Hayden ran cross country and track, and Gallatin hosts zero.
Yeah, because we don't have a
We
track
don't,
at
we
the
don't
high
that's
school.
a whole nother story.
I'll get on that soapbox too.
I'm told it's coming, but I'm like, well, okay.
I'll believe that when I see a baseball field on campus.
I know. There's some big talks though about
Yeah.
like the master plan of Gallatin High
Yeah.
School, and some of
Let's
it's
hope.
gonna. I know it's gonna. Some of it, if it happens, it's probably gonna make some of the old heads really unhappy. But is it time? Like, is it time to centralize some of those things? But
This
you're
is me
right.
shaking my head. Yes.
Yeah, I know. But it was hard to travel outside our county and other sides of the state and see
Yep.
these great facilities
It
that are
is.
city, county, or school owned, and say, why aren't we doing this at home? Like, why did I just travel 2 hours to watch a kid run in a circle for
Yes.
15 minutes?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
like, man, this could have been so great here.
Yeah, and all that, because when you're there, I went on track. I don't know if you're familiar with track, but on track, you might run an event at 8 a.m. and you might not have another event until 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have enough time to go do anything else, and the events might change. So
Coffee at the local
gotta
coffee
go get
shop.
my coffee. Got to have lunch. If I'm traveling with my daughter, then I've got to eat 4 other times.
Yeah.
And then we got to go find a distractor. And if we do drive by a store, we probably should go in it. Now I
Yeah.
bought something. So
Yeah.
I mean,
You're going
It
to 3
affects
local
it.
businesses pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah,
Easily drop $100 on those days.
Every time.
Yep. At least.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's a great way for Gallatin to keep a lot of their dollars here and to grow the city.
It would. Yeah. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe
Well,
we
and,
just
and
have
that's
one.
and the challenge is that folks that have not, and I think you could argue that older parents, before travel ball was such a thing,
They don't understand
They
it.
don't fully understand it, right?
Yep.
Or if you're not in it, or you don't have kids that are involved in recreational sports, you don't get it. So that's where a little bit of the
Yes.
divide is, and that's where I guess you could say like the community and constituents don't line
Yes.
up, because they're like, well, why should we have that versus this, because
Yeah.
my kids don't do that. They can't understand that.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to economics.
You see it. They see it as a frivolous spend.
Right. But they don't understand the
They don't
benefit.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've said it a couple times that we think the Little League is dying. It possibly.
And that's kind of sad, because travel
Yeah.
ball's not for everybody.
No, it's not. I don't want to say that Little League is dying, because I think obviously, the Little League World Series and all that. I think that there is a demographic that is underserved, baseball in particular, right? If we're talking baseball, it's a sport of means
It's expensive.
now, unfortunately. Like I will stand on that forever. Kids whose parents can't pay for every lesson and every this and every that.
Transportation.
Yeah, they get underserved.
Yep.
So it becomes a weird dynamic to where, some of those kids get missed out. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception when people say Little League, right?
Yeah.
Like, we just associate the local youth baseball as
The
Little
rec.
League. Little League is an organization.
Right.
So the way I look at it is local youth baseball, whatever name is on it. It can be Little League, Cal Ripken League, Kim Baker League. I don't care what it is.
That would be really scary.
Hey, look, if you're buying nice jerseys,
I could do that.
yeah, see if they look
It'd
good.
be really cute.
Yeah, if you look good, you play good. So I think that's the piece that we got to take our organizational affiliation hat on or off and say, we don't care what
What it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody doesn't love it because nobody hates it because it's Little League, and the travel baseball, there's always this button heads. Let's look at it as, hey, this is local youth baseball. And let's invest in that and make that better. I think that's the hill that I'll stand on.
That's a good spin to it. That should happen.
I think you get a lot of social media. You let one person post something that their 8-year-old went and played travel baseball, and somebody dogs them because they didn't play in the Little League. Well, maybe that's what they want to do. I think there could be a whole lot of more come together and
Yeah,
make it
we were exposed. So Anlin, she's a little girl, and so we tried. I guess it was baseball we played,
Yeah.
because it was co-ed.
Yeah.
It was not softball. But we experienced some of that, just when we went to sign up, they're like, well, do you want to do this or this or this? And I'm like,
Yes.
we just want to play, she's
just
never
wanna
played.
play.
We just want to play baseball.
just help my kid out.
We're not playing again though, and talking
Yeah.
because she just, it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
Soccer wasn't either. She said, I don't like the running. So I was like, that's fine.
Listen, there's something to that.
That's something
know.
my kid would say too.
I know, but talking about the financial investment, it's expensive. I mean,
It
just for her
is.
to play, like after we bought all of the things, we're a few $100 in for the sport we played for one season. Not to mention all the practices and the games,
Yes.
and it is. It's tough because it's not necessarily for everybody if they don't have the means. And
Yeah.
you're right.
I think sports is a great way to bring the community together.
It is.
Was kind of my
100%.
point.
It
right?
should be.
It should
Yes.
be. Yeah.
And it's a way again to keep dollars in that community.
Yeah.
And I think with as much money as a lot of these parents are spending on their kids in sports, that it could be a great way to grow the community of Gallatin, right? With expanding upon that.
I agree.
Kim, tell us about, I'm curious, success stories, right? We talked about the chamber, why you should join the chamber, the differentiators of the chamber. You've been with the chamber now for, you say 11 years?
Almost.
Almost
yeah.
11 years. Tell us, do you have a success story that you can think of off the top of your head? Maybe it was somebody that you talked into coming on with a membership that built this great relationship, or is doing this now. They went from $10,000 a month in revenue to $100,000 a month in revenue, whatever it is, right? What kind of, do you have a success story?
Yeah, so I've got a few, and it's interesting in our industry, like how do you measure success? Like do you, and we even talk about that internally, like with my board, like do you measure success with your membership growth, like actual number of members, which by the way, when I started the chamber, we were under 300 and now we're over 700. And so that's success, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But also if we had really, really, really good members and we were not growing as rapidly, would that still be success? I think so.
Yes.
Then the other piece is the revenue piece for us. It's like, okay, well, we've grown and we generate this many dollars in revenue or events. And if we weren't generating all of that, but we were still helping businesses and they were experiencing success, would that still be success? And the answer is yes. And then there's some little things like social media. One of my favorite stories to tell, it was a restaurant that's not here anymore, Grey Feather Grill. You might grieve over their salad bar that they took with them when they closed, but they had the best salad bar. And this was years ago. This was like 8 years ago. And this is when we were not as strategic with our social media. Now we plan our social media like 90 days at a time. We have really good reach. We have more followers than any other chamber in the state.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're close to.
You guys do a great job at
Thank
that, by
you.
the way.
Ashley Freeman, who's my program coordinator, she's the one that has her hands in that like day to day.
Yeah.
A few of us get on there every now and then, but it's all her right now with those fun reels and everything. But this is back when we were able to share posts more frequently. So if you had daily lunch specials or you had a sale, like we could just share it. And it wasn't, the algorithm was a lot different then too. So Grey Feather Grill would have a daily special. And so periodically through the week, we'd share their daily special and it would get really good engagement. And I was over there talking to her one day and she said, Kim, I need to tell you something. And I said, what is it? She said, I need you to know that we track our sales every day. And I don't know if you know this, but a lot of small businesses don't track anything. That's been wild to me. They don't have a budget. They don't track their sales day to day, year to year. They just know.
They just roll with it.
They're just like, yeah, we made money this week. We could cut checks. Awesome.
Yeah.
But this one was like, we've been tracking our sales over the past several months, and we've noticed that on the days you share our post about our daily special, our sales double. I was like, what? She was like, just on those days. And so that to me empowered us to how we leverage our social media and how we push things out. And it validated what we were doing. Because this was a long time ago, early when people were like, yeah, I don't know if that's effective. Who really needs social media? But as far as a business success story, one of my favorites to tell is, so we have a program called Startup Gallatin, and it's our entrepreneur program. We use the Co-Starters material, which was started by some guys in Chattanooga. It's a 10-week, the Co-Starters material is 9-week. We made ours 10-week. It's a 10-week entrepreneur development program where we take them from a concept to an idea in hopes that we help them turn it into a thriving reality. Goals there are to help them understand the ins and outs of running a business. So the financial aspects, how it impacts you personally, because it drains on you personally.
For sure.
The marketing and social aspects of running a business. And then, we consider it a win if somebody makes it through the program and says, I don't want to do this. And then we consider it a win if somebody makes it through the program and is like, I'm ready to go. So I think it was the first or second cohort we ran, which we're bringing this back when we get fully settled into the station. We paused it during 2020, and then we just haven't brought it back until we got our space. But there was this young girl, Morgan, who came through. She was a beekeeper, really, really quiet. But she wanted to make honey. She was already selling some of her honey, like to friends and neighbors. And she's like, I want to start a honey business. And we're like, okay, like that's kind of, okay, we'll see what we can do. And she was really quiet. And there's a lot of group sharing. You have to share your concepts and your ideas. And over those 10 weeks, I watched her gain so much confidence and come out of her shell. And when she got done with that, she launched her business. I think she won our pitch that year because we do a pitch competition at the end, but she had it beautifully branded. She named it Once Upon a Willow Tree. And she started selling her honey, and including herbal infused honey. So like she changed the game a little bit on local honey, because we got farms all over that are selling honey. But now she's selling honey and herbal infused honey, and she's bottling it different, and her branding's beautiful. It's not just some printer she printed at home and slapped on it. So she starts selling it at markets all over the county. She's learned how to tell the story of her business. She's learned how to, tell the story of her product. She gets an online website. She's shipping it all over. And she eventually gets a brick and mortar, which most honey businesses don't have a brick and mortar. So she still has a honey business to this day. She actually opened a second location for like a refill. She's rebranded it since then, and it's called the Ramblin' Bee, and it's in downtown Gallatin. And she's still very quiet, but she's so confident. And her product is great. She knows how to sell it. She's not out here being like, well, yeah, I'll give you free honey. Like, no, she's selling you her honey. And she's doing bulk orders and uniquely branded orders. So that's one of my favorite success stories, where we saw someone that probably wouldn't have come out of their shell and gained as much confidence so quickly. She would have found that along the way at some point. But I think we were able to empower her with the tools and the knowledge and the resources to really launch her store fast. KB Popcorn, which is now called Southern Kettle. I'm sure you've enjoyed some of her popcorn. Similar story. She was like, I'm gonna pop gourmet popcorn. Well, she came out with a brand, was able to sell her stuff. Now she ships hers all over. She does corporate events. She's done popcorn for like Meta and the hospital and other brands. And she also, I was able to connect her with Reggie Mudd, who owns the Corn Crib in downtown Gallatin. And she sells out of that. Like she was selling out of that for Third Thursday in June, and she'll sell out of that for different events, like at the festivals. And there's a line. There's like a line down the sidewalk, and that's so cool. So, those to me, would these people have found success on their own? Probably. I think it probably would have taken them a little longer to connect to the resources, because at the end of the day, that's what we do. We provide connection for the community, and we connect businesses to the community, and we connect businesses to each other, and then the community back to the businesses. And we had just got new cards made for our new office, and the strap line for the city of Gallatin is Gallatin, Tennessee, true grit, amazing grace. So we played on those words, and we said true connectivity, amazing community. And I think that's what the chamber offers.
That's awesome.
I like it.
So the chamber does provide a little bit of entrepreneurial development as well, at the same time as connecting the community.
Yeah, and the goal there is not to get them to join the chamber. I mean, at the end of that, do we hope they see the value and understand, like, hey, we, for a long time commitment and partnership and resources and education, because we have a lot of educational opportunities, you should join the chamber. But at the end of the day, we want businesses to have a successful start in Gallatin. We want them to find all their resources and their talent and everything they need here, and equip them to have a successful start and a long life. What we don't want is, we don't want them to feel like that they're not supported and they don't have access to what they need here, that they feel like they have to go to another community. And unfortunately, sometimes they do. They get priced out, or it makes more sense for them. But ultimately, we want them to start their business here and live out their dream. And so that's really fun.
And I think for the businesses listening, you really don't have to have brick and mortar in that community to be part of the chamber, right?
No, you don't have to have a brick and mortar. You don't have to be a full-time business. It could be a side hustle. And we actually met with a guy today. He's been a member for a couple years now, and he's a firefighter for Metro, but he also has like a handyman service business. And so he does that. We have some students that are like aspiring entrepreneurs. We have student memberships. We even have some retirees that maybe were really involved when they were in the prime of their career and then they've retired, but they have information they want to share, they want to stay connected, and those folks serve as great mentors to present day business leaders. So.
Are you talking to other business leaders about coming in and be able to spend that time from a leadership standpoint with these up and coming
and so
entrepreneurs?
we do a couple different things. And so with Startup Gallatin, part of the program allows us to provide a list of potential mentors to businesses. So let's say somebody's like in the tech space. I could say, hey, Jason, Chad over here at NexGen, they would be great for you to lean on and understand more about what you're doing. We don't force that on them.
Yeah.
We've seen that over the years, when it happens a little more organically, when we say, hey, here's a list of people that are in your space and put it on them, it's a better fit. Now, if they want us to make a connection, we will. We also, with our leadership program, Leadership Gallatin, we expose them to a lot of different businesses and industries in the area. And again, the ball's in their court. They provided the contact info if they want to follow up. Then another thing we do is we have our 1 hour wonders, which are our lunch and learns. We do those once a month. And those we try to bring in experts in specific areas. And we try to reach within our membership. We're not bringing in these high level people from another community to talk about what goes on there. We want them to be real people that are connected in our community that can tell them, we talked about cybersecurity earlier. Is it an expert in cybersecurity? Or we had someone recently come speak about emergency preparedness, or we did have somebody come talk about disabilities in the workplace and how to navigate that and how to prepare for that and how to educate your staff on that as well. And so we bring in experts in different areas within our reach to share with other members.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're time for the podium, right? You guys ready to go to the podium?
We're all over it.
Oh boy.
You've been thinking about this the whole time.
Let's go to the podium. So every episode, we go to the podium, top 3 things, right, of a particular subject. So this week we're going to talk about our favorite summer activities. Okay. So we're talking about barbecuing. We're talking about the lake. We're talking about concerts. I mean, just whatever you think of in the summer, right? I mean, there's multiple things, right?
Yeah. Kim's are all going to be in Gallatin.
Kim.
I bet they're not.
So let's, Kim, you want to get us started? Ladies first.
Ladies first.
You want to start with
we're doing
number 3?
top 3, but I start with 3,
Yes.
which is
Give your third.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll give my third. Jason will give his third, which is probably going to be some hot take, like putting my shoes on. We did desserts a few weeks ago, and it was vanilla ice cream.
That's my favorite ice cream.
Vanilla bean ice cream. Come on.
That's
vanilla
my favorite ice cream.
Vanilla ice cream's great.
That was my number
But
3, by the way.
Alone, is vanilla ice cream your favorite dessert?
Not my favorite dessert.
Okay,
that's your favorite dessert.
That was number 3.
It made the list. That was my point.
Basic.
I know.
There's nothing like
I know. I like just a vanilla
you.
bean ice cream cone.
bran.
Briars.
Okay,
Briars, vanilla bean.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
I'm just.
Thank you.
I'm
do you
a-
put chocolate syrup on it? Rainbow sprinkles?
No.
Pecans?
Thank you, Kim.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right,
No.
cool.
Thank
All
you.
right, number 3 for me. So what I love about this time of year when the weather's not like when it's super hot, but I really like to eat outside.
Yeah.
I love that we can do this. We have a screened in. That was one of the talk about top 3 reasons we bought our house. Probably within the top 5. The house we're in now, we have a screened in porch, and so we love to eat dinner out there or breakfast. I love to have my coffee out there sometimes in the mornings, but I also like to enjoy our patios around town. And so All Daddy's is a favorite.
Yeah.
Star Ranch has a patio a lot of people don't know about. And then Sweeney Swift's has Gallatin's only rooftop patio at
Yes, they do.
the current time. So
Yeah.
leave that for your imagination.
Oh, okay. I like
But yeah,
that.
eating outside. I like
Eating outside. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in August when it's not
Yeah,
Chamber of
that's-
Commerce weather in Gallatin. It's like sticky.
Unless you're having your coffee at like 5
Yeah.
a.m. It's
You
off
don't
the
want to do
table.
those those tours with the employees in August. It's
No.
like, hey, can you reschedule to end of September? And
Right.
we'll really treat them to a nice
ice cream, vanilla ice cream.
vanilla bean ice cream,
Briars.
homemade.
No, Briars.
I mean, if you can do homemade, I'll try it, Chad.
I got an ice cream maker.
Yeah, maybe we'll make Jason a treat. Man, this one's really hard. There's so many fun things to do in the summer, but I would,
are.
yeah. I mean,
It's hard to do just 3.
we need to do the podium times a year, and the summer's probably not my favorite. But
The summer's not your favorite? What's
No,
wrong with
not,
you?
Not
No,
mine either.
fall.
Oh, love the
1,000%
summer.
fall.
I like the fall too, but
Yeah.
But I also, eating outside in the fall is also in my top 3.
Yes, me too.
May to
Yeah.
October, I guess.
Yes. Number 3 to me is the ballpark. As much time as we spend there, I don't necessarily love how hot it is there, and it could be any. I mean, the other day we did a team sounds game, and as much baseball as I have watched over the past bunch of years, you would think I'd had enough, but it is the ballpark experience is a when I think summer,
You think about baseball.
I think about a ball. Yeah.
I just went to an Astros game
Yes.
when we were in Houston. Like, we had nothing else to do. I was like, let's go get tickets to the Astros game.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's something
The
fun to do.
experience.
It's a
Yeah.
fun, and when I think baseball, especially big league ball, I think summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
number 3, ballpark.
good choice, man.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna go back to the childhood a little bit, teenage years, like rolling around on the strip. When I think of summer, I think of windows down in the
Yeah.
vehicle, music blaring,
Yep.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
and just driving.
Yeah. I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
number 3 for me is
Back
driving
row?
with the windows down, the music up.
I still do that, and I have to be careful sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm somebody. Turn
Yeah.
down your music.
Yeah. Turn
Yeah.
on your 3-6 Mafia.
I
But
know, please don't now.
there's something about that, just the freedom of driving with the windows down, the music up.
Yeah.
You know, that's love that in the summer, especially in the afternoon when the sun's going down at that
Yes.
time frame. It's perfect.
I dig
That's
it.
number 3.
I like that.
Number 2, probably family vacations. I didn't grow up going on family vacations. I was an only child, so like even if we had it,
It wasn't really a
probably wouldn't
yeah.
have been super
Yeah.
fun. But that's something we started doing a few years ago when we were able to start going on family vacations. And we've strategically, we don't go to the same place. I grew up in South Florida, so like going to the beach, like isn't like, I remember when I moved here, this is a funny story, and people were like, we're going to Florida. I'm like, where are you going? And they're like, Panama City. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Panama City, because people in Florida don't
Don't
go to Panama City.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting for me. But we go different places, and Ryan and I really like, I think it's because of what we do. I like to go sightsee. I like to see how communities do things, and
Yeah.
I bring it back. And then we like to do a lot of historical tours while we're there. And so we try to find places where we can do that kind of adventure, and then also things that the kids will enjoy. So this year we're going to Savannah. We're staying on Tybee Island, and we're going to in Savannah. So
Yeah. That's
love,
cool.
we're
love
excited.
Savannah.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
we're
awesome.
excited.
Yeah.
So we try to go somewhere different every year.
Yeah.
I would agree with Kim. My number 2 is, as much as we don't do summer vacations, I guess because of the past 4 or 5 years, the way our baseball schedule has been, we've not gone on a true outside of baseball related summer vacation in a long time. But kind of looking forward to getting back to that, maybe going to the beach in the summertime.
Yeah.
We're fall break people at in the Panhandle, but
That's okay. I
yeah,
won't judge you.
yeah. Well, not Panama City. I had not been to Panama City in a bunch of years, and had to go a few years ago for a baseball thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's still Panama City.
Yeah.
Sorry to the Chamber of Commerce in Panama City, but
I actually know the guy that runs it. He's a really good guy.
it's still
Yeah.
Panama City. Panama City is still the same
I know.
place.
They're trying. They're trying.
Yeah,
but-
they're trying. Yeah, but I would say still it's vacation. Like, it's the right time, like, to get a week and to go, whether it's going to Cades Cove and going up there and going to the mountains.
Just going somewhere.
Yeah,
going
going somewhere.
somewhere. And
Yeah.
we've started. We have a few friends that we go with, and that's really
Yeah.
fun to go and watch their kids and our kids
Yeah.
play, and just
I've said a long time that vacation is more not necessarily the destination, but the folks that are there. So no matter where we go, it's going to be a good time.
For number 2, I'm going to put 2 things together. I'm going to say baseball and beach.
Oh, beach trips.
Baseball,
involve
beach trip.
baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if I can have the summer sports
Yeah.
together with the beach,
Yep.
and make it a combo.
Those look exhausting, by
They
the
are.
way. I mean, like, I'm just like, y'all
They
were at the
are.
ball field and then you went to the beach the next day. Like, I never recover.
They are.
Yeah,
We
they can be, but I love being at the ballpark.
Yeah.
But also like the beach vacations,
Yeah.
and if you can do them together, I think
then it's a plus.
then it's a plus.
I always looked at them as a plus. Like,
It's like you get to do 2 in 1.
yeah, we
It's a
didn't
win-win.
we didn't do a lot of beach baseball stuff. The older they get, the less of that. Like it ends up being you're stuck in North Georgia somewhere playing. But I really enjoyed those. Those were a lot of those were fun to go and
You
hang
get to
out.
let loose with the other parents, a
do.
little bit. The kids keep
do.
each other in tune, right?
Yeah.
They play together.
The quality of baseball sometimes suffers.
Yeah.
My son at 13, I think Baylor really started noticing females on a summer baseball trip. And his on the field play was not as good as what the game he was playing at the beach.
At the beach, yeah.
He was
funny.
he was an all-star there, but
Yeah.
He grew up a little bit on that trip.
yeah, like instantly
Yeah.
in front of our eyes. We were like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So let's go to number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kim,
Kim's
what do you
number
got
one.
for number
Number
1?
1. You have any
Yeah.
guesses?
I'm gonna
well-
say I got. You want me to guess?
Don't you steal my guess.
Okay.
Say it together.
It's Bonnaroo.
Concerts.
Bonnaroo. It's Bonnaroo.
I knew
Just
it.
Bonnaroo. Okay.
Yeah,
Bonnaroo.
whenever we said this to Kim, I was like, it's got to be Bonnaroo.
It's Bonnaroo. So I just got back from my 15th Bonnaroo. I started going to Bonnaroo when I was 19. Of course, when I went when I was 19, I had some good friends at UT, and they were like, you should go to Bonnaroo this summer. And I remember I called my dad. I was like, Dad, can you get me a ticket to Bonnaroo?
You're like,
And
I'm
he's
failing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, he didn't know yet when he bought the ticket. The letter came in the mail later that summer. But he bought me the ticket, and then that started like a trend that my birthday's in February. Every year for my birthday, my dad would give me 2 Bonnaroo tickets.
That's awesome.
And so I always had a ticket and an extra ticket to like take a friend. And then once I had a boyfriend, like I would take the boyfriend. And then Ryan has gone with me since 2010. That was his first Bonnaroo. And so I went to Bonnaroo when I was 38 weeks pregnant in 2017. So Anlin has technically been to Bonnaroo. She's been. In fact, Brian on the team earlier joked I should bring Ruby, the dog. Her name is Rooby. She's named after Bonnaroo, Ruby.
Yeah.
And she's a golden retriever. She's very cute. But we came up with that name because when we went to Bonnaroo in 2017, when I was 38 weeks pregnant, we had decided that we had my bag packed, and if we had Anlin at the farm, we were going to name her Ruby instead.
Yeah.
And so when we got the dog, that was what we decided
That's
to
cool.
name her. But when I started going in 2019, I went for a fun time, and I kept going back because I really liked the culture and the experience, and everybody's who they truly are there.
Yeah.
And I don't think we get enough of that in the real world. And of course I love music, but as I've gotten older and I've been in my role, I really like this is nerdy, but I really like the economics behind Bonnaroo and the impact it has on our region and the state as a
Yeah.
whole. And if you look at, if you're not familiar with Manchester, Tennessee, then
Nothing but nurseries.
well, there was nothing there before Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
Coffee County was the poorest county, one of the poorest counties in the state, and so the economic impact it's had. And so when you really take just like recreation, we take a look at that and realize how impactful that's been for that community and the ripple effect it's had across the state. I also find it really fascinating when we go and we meet people and they're dressed in all these crazy outfits. I'm like, what do you do? I met one guy the other day, and he was in this crazy outfit, and I said, so what do you do? And he almost hesitated to tell me, and I was like, what do you do? And he was like, well, I travel for work. I was like, yes, I know, you've told me that, but what do you do? He's like, I'm a surgical tech. And I was looking at him thinking, man, I hope you're
brain
off for a
surgeon.
whole nother week.
I'm
I
a
know.
brain
I was
surgeon.
Like, but you find a lot of people that have these really highly involved jobs, and they're like, I'm just going to go here and go unplug and be who I want to
Yeah,
be for a week.
that's cool.
And so that's really fun. And I mean, I've seen so many shows over the years. I mean, this year I got to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I got to see Post Malone. He brought out one of my favorite artists, Billy Strings. And I got to see Taking Back Sunday, which was my favorite artist like 20 years ago. So
That's
that was
cool.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
And our kid went this year.
Kim's
so.
number one.
How was Red Hot Chili Peppers, by the way?
They're good. I've seen them a few times
Okay.
before. Always put on a good show.
Yeah.
So
I haven't
they're
seen
good.
them live. I
You
like
should,
them.
You should go see them live.
I should.
It's good. And everybody should go to Bonnaroo at least once, even if it's just for a day, since we live this close.
Just to go see it.
But yeah, so people always ask, are you going to go back next year? And I plan to go back until my body tells me I can't do that.
It's like Talladega with music.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen some videos of people that go to like the race events,
Yeah.
and it looks like some of the people that go to festivals
It's
have
similar.
trickled over. I'm like,
It's
they're having
similar.
an interesting time there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People being authentically themselves.
authentically themselves.
For better or worse.
Correct. That's exactly it.
Chad, what do you got for number one?
My number one is it's pool days.
Oh,
Yeah. Like just hanging out
Yep.
by the pool, whether it's our pool or friends' pool, just hanging out, no real responsibilities that day, cooking something and
Barbecuing.
Yeah.
Barbecuing goes hand in hand with that. The grill.
cooking something.
Cooking some.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be mine. Just as simple as that. That laid back. Again, no responsibilities, no place to be that day. Probably get a sunburn. You should wear sunscreen, but sunburn.
Yeah.
Something about going to bed with a sunburn, get in the shower after. Whatever.
Feels like summer, right?
Yeah, it feels like summer.
when the fan hits you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels
Feels like summer. I like that
summer.
song.
Yeah.
There's a song
yeah.
about that.
That would be my pick.
That's good. I have that towards the top too, but that's not my number one. My number one is going to be probably lake days.
Similar.
Yeah. And
similar.
so I like being on the ocean, but
Yeah.
I've told this to Stephanie, my wife. I told her, I said, I think as I'm getting older, I almost enjoy the lake more than the
Really?
ocean. The lake's great when it is, right? But
Yeah. It's
I
crowded.
mean, the ocean is great when it's great, right?
Yeah.
But you
And then
don't
sharks
know,
and-
you don't know what to expect with the ocean.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? Sometimes it's clear.
It's a
Sometimes
little-
it's
it's a little
dirty.
less predictable.
Sometimes
Yeah.
there's bullhead sharks right on the beach. Sometimes there's not. I know what I'm getting with the lake,
Yeah.
right? I know I'm going to have a good time. I
I know it's going to be muddy.
I know I might get some nibbles on my feet, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to get my foot
Yeah.
bit off, right?
Yeah.
So, and just going out on the lake, enjoying time with people, right? And entertaining people on the boat,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I really enjoy that. So that's
Lake
a favorite
days.
time of mine. Lake days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to be off the lake in the summer before the lake day people are there.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something. I mean, I'm glad we have the lake. It's a great asset. But coming from South Florida, I don't think I got into the lake.
I bet you didn't.
I moved here and everybody was like, yeah, we go on the lake. And I remember the first time I got invited to go out on the lake, I was like, y'all get in
You
there?
get in that?
You get in that?
Yeah.
I can't
And
see,
I'm like, I don't, it took me a long, I mean, I
Yeah.
sat like clothed on a boat for many years until like I got in
Yeah.
the lake.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's different for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Kim, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you. This was fun.
Everybody
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
listening, please touch base with Kim and the Gallatin Chamber. Do yourself a favor, connect with them, let them help you grow their business, right?
Yeah, come see us at the station in
Yeah.
downtown Gallatin. And you can find us online, Gallatin Chamber on most of
We
the
can't
channels.
wait to check it out.
I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's the opening date? Do you have
The
that
opening
set?
date, yep, we're going to have a grand opening July 26th with a 3-day festivity, the 25th through the 27th. So the 27th is a public facing day. We'll have some cool workshops going on, and then we'll cut the ribbon on that Friday, the 26th.
Cool. Looking
So-
forward
Awesome.
to it.
We will be there.
Yeah.
Everybody, please follow us, the NexGen podcast on all socials. Till next time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.